Today, on Running to Him,
Jesus is superior to the angels. And this is a devotion for 1027. Today we will read Hebrews chapter 1 and concentrate on 1 through 4. Hebrews 1 through 4 says, God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers and the prophets, in many portions and in many ways, in these last days has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom he also made the world. And he is the radiance of his glory and the exact representation of his nature, and upholds all things by word of his power. When he had made purification of the sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high, having become much better than the angels, as he has inherited a more excellent name than they. Well, today we're going to be looking at the book of Hebrews. I'm actually going to be beginning it. And much like when we looked at Titus and took that book chapter by chapter, we will do the same thing with the book of Hebrews. So for approximately 2 weeks, we will look at a chapter a day or break down a chapter or two into multiple days. The theme of the first 10 chapters of the book of Hebrews could be Jesus is better. But the book's last 3 chapters should be entitled, So Here is How We Are Going to Apply That to Our Lives. The author of the book of Hebrews' argument then is theological and applicational. And while we were on the topic of authorship, the early church held that Paul wrote the book of Hebrews, and there's no really good argument to change our position. Notice nothing in the book of Hebrews explicitly attributes the book to Paul. The author of Hebrews' first argument is that Jesus' revelation is better than the angels. The Jews always believed that the angels provided much of God's revelation to man. Therefore, Hebrews first must argue that Christ's revelation must be superior to angelic revelation if Jesus is to be superior to the angels. Jesus is superior to the angels in 4 different ways. First, he is the heir of all things. Secondly, he made the world. Third, he is an exact representation of God's nature and upholds all things through his power. And finally, he made atonement for sin and sat at the Father's right hand. So let's look at these attributes. Jesus is the heir of all things. Now, this means that he is in control of everything. This is an interesting concept from a Trinitarian viewpoint. God has given Jesus power over all things and declared him equal to God the Father. This equality is not that Jesus' role is the same as the Father's. Jesus' role is different than the Father's, but equal to the Father. The writer's information dispel the idea that Jesus is the Father in a different role. The Nicene Creed, written in 425 AD, defines who Jesus is. This creed was written to declare Jesus is equal in nature to God, but a separate person. Philippians 2 through 18, and Colossians 15 through 18 also describe Christ's nature similarly. Interestingly, the author of Hebrews also agrees with Colossians and Philippians as Christ being the world's creator. This goes along well with Genesis chapter 1, as the term used for God is a singular noun written as a plural. Thirdly, because Christ's nature is that of God's nature, Christ upholds everything. In Colossians 1:17, Paul writes that Christ is before all things, and he holds all things together. So the author of the book of Hebrews' proposition that Christ is better than the angel because shown through his equality with nature and with God the Father. Finally, in today's call-out section, we are told that Jesus is better than the angels because he provided atonement for sin. Christ needed to come as a human to atone for human failures. An angel could not bring atonement to man. Only a human could do that. This fact destroys the arguments of many Christian cults which hold that Christ was merely an exalted human, as held by Jehovah's Witness, and that he was the spirit brother of Satan, as held by the Mormons. Christ's human nature had to be fully human, and he also needed to be fully God. This humanness was so that he could be the sacrificial lamb, and his holiness so that he could make the atonement for man. Remember, Adam was human, and his sin caused the problem. So the second Adam had to be as human as the first Adam to cleanse the world's sins. Jesus is superior to the angels because of his being fully man and fully God.
Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.